Jennifer, thanks for joining. Can you introduce yourself to us and introduce Pute to those that don't know?
Sure. My name is Jennifer James. I'm the Director of Business Development and Consulting with Pute. We are a technology concierge. We basically manage all of the technology for veterinary practices. I tend to call it IT support on steroids. We manage everything attached to electricity for the practices as a service, and only in the vet space.
And why own the vet space? And does that matter that it's vet versus kind of general IT? Is there specific differences?
We started in the veterinary space. Funny story. So I actually managed in one of the very first practices that Pute was ever in. And one of the owners was involved in setting up the practice there. The initial setup was needing something with Wi-Fi and setting up Wi-Fi in the practice. And this was back in 2007, I believe. Actually, it was probably a little bit earlier than that. The Pute's been around now for 20 years. And so they started working in our practice and they started seeing such a need for support in the veterinary space. They kind of just spun off from there and have really only stayed in the vet space. In fact, we hire from the industry so that our technicians know what it means if a label printer is not working, that somebody's probably handwriting labels. So it's really important to us to cater to this field.
So it's something as small as label printers problems to as big as full IT information security protection.
Oh, absolutely. And even bigger than that, we actually work with full builds and network setups. So we do a lot of new builds and things like that, but it's as simple. And I know everybody's headaches is label printers. I just got off a call with somebody that says, oh, please tell me you can work with Dymo label printers or with Zebra label printers or with Brother label printers. Yes, we can work with all of them. It's not a problem. And so for them, that's a big issue because if it's not working, they're handwriting labels potentially. So we understand that that's not something that can take days. And then, yes, cybersecurity is huge. And we have so many practices that don't even have antivirus when they come to us, much less a good cybersecurity protection. It is absolutely real. There are so many phishing schemes and things like that it's not an if, but a when that a practice gets attacked.
Can you give me a foundational setup for a typical veterinary practice, a smaller veterinary practice?
Yeah. So whether you have 2 workstations or 100 workstations, they need to be protected. You need to be on a business class router with a firewall and with protections for email, whether that's using Microsoft Office or G Suite, something that's able to be protected. No passwords saved in browsers or things like that. Always want to use a password manager and antivirus. Definitely need antivirus. And there's some advanced security features and things like that, but that is the very basic portion of what needs to be done. Windows updates or Mac updates need to be done regularly so that there's not holes in the system. Practices don't need to have clients on their business Wi-Fi because we can't control what a client opens or doesn't open. It's the same thing with staff. If we don't have antivirus on their computer, the staff needs to be off and using a guest network. Otherwise, you're creating vulnerabilities in the network.
Yeah, I give a one-word description of an IT setup at a veterinary hospital is maybe fragile. Would you use a different one?
No, I mean, fragile is a good one. As if they don't have, especially if they don't have IT support at all, it's definitely fragile. And I've noticed that while all IT supports are different, the ones that really make a difference in our field are the ones that have actually dedicated themselves to learning our practice management systems and learning our different phone systems and learning interactions, because we don't interact the same way as a human healthcare facility does. And we do have differences, and it's really good to know those, learn those, and be able to help support in those situations.
So let me ask you about that. So each piece of technology the practice has, whether it's a PIMS or a phone system, has a support line. How do you contrast what Pute does on general IT support versus individual product support items?
So for us, like I think I said at the beginning, we're a technology concierge. So we actually help them with that. For example, if their phone system goes down, we have several phone partners that we have backlines for. So we call their phone provider on their behalf. They don't ever have to get on the phone with their phone provider, their internet service. They don't have to get on the phone with their PIMS. We handle all of that so they don't have to. Most of the time when they have those supports, that specific support is for those systems. So if you have phone support, they're not calling your lab company, they're not calling your internet company and those kind of things. And so we manage all of that because sometimes it's an issue that affects multiple systems. So we can kind of narrow that down and save time. Our whole goal is efficiency and getting the teams basically back in the practice to be able to work on patient care, to be able to work on clients, and to be able to work in the practice. So that they're not focused on IT support.
Yeah, everything's connected, and so singular support can't really solve the entire clinical issue potentially.
Right. And so there's so many times that we have to reach out. Like, we're not going to go in and fix somebody's radiology unit. However, we can get on the phone with Sound or IDEX or VetRay and say, hey, we're seeing this on our end. What are you seeing on your end? And we can help manage that and kind of move through it faster so that they can get up and running in the shortest time possible.
Yeah, this makes a ton of sense. What can they expect from working with you? Is service 24/7, or how does service look?
So their service would be, our daytime service is 7:30 to 4:30 their time zone. We are here 24 hours. If it's an emergency clinic, we do extend the hours for them, but we are always available. So if they call at 11 o'clock at night or on a Saturday or on a Sunday or something like that, they're getting our team for that support. So they're never not getting somebody that is familiar with their system and has all the access to their system.
That's awesome. If someone's on the or let me ask you this: how big is Pute? How many practices do you work with nationwide?
Well, we are nationwide. We started in Florida, but we're now nationwide. We even have practices in Hawaii. I think it's over 300 practices now, I believe. We are continuously growing all the time and scaling from that. And I think I mentioned that we hire from the veterinary space as well. So we're able to hire people that understand the speak between the clients and technology also. So it's consistently growing. We work with small practices. We work with all kinds of, I think our largest practice right now has 126 workstations, something like that. So, and the smallest I think has 2. So we are kind of all across the board as far as size and the amount of workstations we have as well, or the amount of clinics we have as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. If someone's on the fence reaching out, what would you tell them?
Give us a call and have a conversation. We're happy to work through it. And especially if you have an IT company, we're very honest. If you have an IT company that's working well for you and doing right by you, we will say, hey, that sounds great. It sounds like you have a great relationship with who you're working with. If ever they're not available, then give us a call. But if you don't have IT support, you need it. Because again, like I mentioned before, the cyber threats are not an if, but a when. It is going to happen at some point, and it is so much less costly to get somebody in there proactively than to call us after they've gotten into your system, rerouted your payments, and are stealing money, because that does happen. We have seen that happen. So it's so important, especially in the age of these cyber threats and AI, to get something proactive in place quickly.
All right, and then we'll close out on this, but I've already asked you the question, so I'll just ask again because you'll get 2 takes this way just in case. But if you had to describe it in 1 sentence, or if you wanted every Vetcelerator member to leave knowing something about Pute, what would it be?
We are your technology efficiency partner. We save you time by managing the technology that you don't want to manage.
Perfect.